Okay, Vino Madunai Nuheno Aleno Maase Adenu Kone Na Aleno Maase Adenu Kone. I'd like to continue the Shiur in Shaare Orah. We are on page Resh Mem Gimel, below the line, okay? And we're talking about the concept of Brit, the concept of a covenant, okay? And of course, this is vis-a-vis the Sod, the covenant. We discussed the fact that in a covenant, there has to be two people, each one giving something over. So the example he brought of the Brit, the Torah is called the Brit, yes? Why is the Torah a Brit? Because God gave something to us. What did he give us?
His Torah, I mean, he gave it to us.
He gave the Torah. To what level did he give us the Torah? Lo b'shamayim hi, right? That even to the extent that we come up with halakha that's different than what he thinks it should be, lo b'shamayim hi. You don't ask a prophet to tell you halachic answers. The only way a prophet can give posek halakha is based on his chokhmah, not based on his prophecy. So that Hashem gave the Torah over to Klal Yisrael as a gift completely to Klal Yisrael. And then what do we give to Hashem? We give to Hashem Naaseh v'nishma. We have free choice. We could do what we want. Hashem comes to us and says, I have a book of obligations for you. Would you like it? And we say, Naaseh v'nishma. We're going to do, and then we're going to listen. And then there's another thing I studied in the Zohar last night, connect to the yesterday compared to the Parashat Shemot. At what point is a person a Baal Tshuva? Person is Mehalel Shabbat. Person's Oved Avodah Zarah, worshiping idolatry, doing other kinds of terrible sins. At what point does he become a Baal Tshuva? Is there like a period of time he has to be righteous, No. It comes from the point of the decision that of Naaseh v'nishma. Whatever it says in the Torah, whatever the Chachamim tell me, I'm going to do. That is Baal Tshuva. From that point on, he's Chozeh b'Tshuvah. Is he still perfect in all of his actions? No, because he has to learn. Think about a convert. How much does a convert have to learn in order to become a Jew? A lot. A year and a half, 2 years. A Baal Tshuva, from a Torah point of view, may know as much as a Gentile does about the Torah. Yet as soon as the decision is made, that what? That they're going to Naaseh v'nishma, which means my will is subjugated to God's will based on how the Chachamim tell me what it says in the Torah. Now I'm a Baal Tshuva. It's a Pella. That's what the Zohar says. And it makes sense. Right? There's no trial period. Right? There's no, you have to take a test. You want to be considered a Baal Tshuva, you want to get an Aliyah, I'm sorry. You have to take a test to prove that you know what you're doing. No! As soon as the person has the idea that I'm going to change and whatever it says, Naaseh v'nishma, boom, now he's a Baal Tshuva.
The real galut that we have is that many people's hearts are divorced when they do mitzvot. So by definition, a Baal Tshuva who makes a decision firmly to do teshuvah, speaking to what you're saying, it's
that's also the idea.
In here, they already decided they want to do repentance.
That's why it says in the pasuk, Shalom, Shalom, la rachok ve'la karov. Shalom, Shalom, peace, peace, right? To the one who's far, to the one who's near. That's what it says in the Tanakh. Shalom, Shalom, la rachok ve'la karov. Peace, peace to the far one and to the near one. It should say, Shalom, Shalom, la karov ve'la rachok. It should say, peace, peace to the one that's close and the one that's far. No. Why? Because the rachok is the Baal Tshuva. And that's what we learn from Ben Makom Shibale Shuva Omdim En Tzadikim Yecholim La'amod. That's where we learn that concept, that in a place where a Baal Tshuva is standing, right, a tzaddik cannot stand, which means the level of a Baal Tshuva is often higher than the level of a tzaddik, because it goes based on the toil. Lefum Tsa'ara Agra. Everything goes according to the person's work. Right? Everybody has different strengths and different weaknesses. Some people have a tendency to eat treif. Some people have a tendency to arayot. Some people have a tendency to have bad ideas in their head. Okay? And all the other sins that are available. It goes according to the toil the person exerts to overcome the Yetzer Hara that's theirs, not someone else's. Someone else doesn't have a Yetzer Hara for Shabbat. A person who's born tzaddik, who's FFB, doesn't really have a Yetzer Hara for Shabbat. It's a pshita. Why would I give up my Shabbat to go shopping? Why would I do that? I don't want to spoil the Shabbat atmosphere. I love the Shabbat. Why would I do that? That's a person who always had Shabbat in their life. Someone who never had Shabbat in their life first to have experienced Shabbat. Once they experience it, that's what they're talking about. That's how Shabbat works. And there's many things like that. So the from birth person who's never been, again, I'm not to say from birth people are not challenged with other things. Everybody has challenges, but the Baal Tshuva is challenged with things that the from person is not challenged with. If you have a from person who's always been from their whole life, and they go to shop in the supermarket, and they pass by the lobster, whatchamacallit? Oh, it's disgusting. Why would I eat that? Okay. Now, someone who's eaten lobster and I, Baruch Hashem, I'm about you for many years. Lobster I never had that before. So I know since I don't know what I'm missing, there's no yesahara for me on that. I would need it. It looks disgusting. It's like a cockroach. Would I eat a cockroach? No. But other things that you've sampled in the past, that's where the challenges are. When a person has failed in certain areas, either as a from birth or a Baal Tshuva, that's where it's difficult because that's how the Yetzirah comes to you. Yetzirah is not coming to you for something that you've never experienced before and not interested in experiencing. So everybody's got different challenges. That doesn't mean FFBs don't have challenges. But I will say one thing. The greatest challenge of our generation is Emunah, Yirat HaShamayim. That is the biggest challenge of our generation, in my opinion. And based on questions I've been asked and things I've had to deal with over the course of many years, Beis Yaakov girls and people who went to yeshiva, there are questions they have. And the part of the problem is if a Baal Tshuva asks a question about God, nobody looks at you differently. Oh, yeah, of course. How would you know? You didn't grow up with this. Let me help you. Okay? If person who grew up from has a question, especially if they went to yeshiva, okay, what do they do with that question?
How come you didn't pay attention?
What do they do with that question? How do they? And here's the real answer. Some of the people who were from and then become not from, why does that happen? Because there are questions that they had. They asked those questions and got lousy answers or no answers. Don't ask me that question. You should know that. Go ask your father. What kind of question is that? Are you a kofar? Whenever you hear that from an educator, the real answer is, I don't know the answer to your question. You mean to tell me if I ask him about what this Rashi or Tosafot means on the Sugya, that he can answer for me like this, but he can't answer for me the question of why. That is not an educator. With all due respect, it's not. If you're not answering the why, the what, where, when, and how, don't make a difference. As a person who's a Baal Tshuva, that is clear as day. It kind of you're shaking your head. You know what I'm talking about.
And before even making the decision to become Baal Tshuva, you can say unfortunate or not, but the reality is certain things have to make sense logically before you can build your emunah.
And that's why until the person says, "Oh, now I'm going to do whatever I'm told." Naaseh v'nishma. Once that happens, now the person's a Baal Tshuva. Until they get to the Naaseh v'nishma, they are in a, what do you call in Hebrew, modern Hebrew, a person who was from and now is no longer from? You call a Baal Tshuva, Baal Teshuvah. What do you call a person who is which really means a Baal, a master of the answer. Baal Teshuvah. Teshuvah is an answer. It also means to return, but it also means to answer. What in modern Hebrew do they call someone who's religious, who's no longer religious? Choser b'sheila. Choser b'sheila. Return, which means in the wrong direction, with questions. That's exactly what's going on. Why does a person become not from? Because there are questions that they had that they did not get satisfactory answers to.
Can there also be, of course, there isn't one category, maybe there's subcategories. Maybe someone just has let's say they know everything. I'm sure there's extreme cases where there's intellectual knowledge. Everyone knows, someone would know the answers to everything, or they felt like they got the right answers to everything even, right? They just have a strong Yetzirah.
No case. Show me a case.
They were overexposed, maybe.
Show me a case. You'd have to show me a case.
We have a lot more people coming in.
There's a person who's from, and a life circumstance happens, right? We see this all the time in hospice, and that's not just unique to Jews, Christians, whatever. It's all, you know. Why me? Person has a difficult financial difficulties. A person has difficult with health, difficult with family. The first question for someone who is from is, why me? Who do we learn that from? Eov. Eov wasn't Jewish, but he was righteous. How do we know? Because God says so. And when he started suffering physically, now there's questions. And Eov is couched with his friends coming to him with answers to his questions. They ask questions, they ask answers. Who wrote Eov?
Was it Moses?
Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote Eov. Why did he write Eov?
To answer the question.
So there's
Why
an
did
opinion that
thing
says
happen?
Eov lived, right? When we have in Parashat Miragilim, when they go in to see, and they see all Eretz Ochelet Yoshveahi, right? Everybody's getting, there's burials. Who died? Eov died. That's what some of the Farshim say. And that's the reason the whole country was in mourning, because Eov was such an amazing personality amongst the Goyim that what happened? Hayesh ba'etz or Evan. Etz is Eov. That they went in to go see. And Eov died, and that distracted everybody in the funeral. Plus, in funerals, a lot of strange people come. So you're not looking for strange people, because in funerals, that's what happens, right? That's so the Meraglim interpret that improperly. We'll get to that when we get to Parashat Shlach. But Eov was written by Moshe. Rambam says it's a metaphor, it's an analogy. There was no person ever Eov. It didn't really exist. It's just Moshe's way of couching an emunah question discussion in the context of a sefer. Because Moshe's biggest question was Sadiq Viralo. Everything else you can get your hands around. Rasha v'tovlo you can get. You understand? Olam haba is coming. God's going to get him later. Sadiq Viralo. Why is this righteous person suffering? That's what causes chozer b'she'elah, either personally or they see it with another member of their family. And who do they ask? Who do they talk to? Who are they going to talk to? It's a very unique individual that's able to respond to those questions. Not everybody can respond to those questions. Not everybody and where these questions come up, I know I'm a little off topic here, but that's okay. You are teaching you're in a yeshiva, and you are getting federal money. Are you required to take federal money? No. Are you required to state federal money? No. But you take federal money. Well, and so you haven't figured it out yet. In Minnesota, they're learning the hard way, okay? Federal money always comes with strings attached. And those strings attached are you have to teach these things. And one of the things you have to teach is evolution. One of the things you have to teach is the Big Bang Theory. Baruch Hashem, now the Big Bang Theory stems very nicely with what the Torah says. But what happened before 1990 when the scientists rejected this concept of the Big Bang Theory, right? You had to teach Aristotle, which is the world always existed. The world was extant. Now you have science classes where you have teachers. Some of them are from, and some of them are not. And they're teaching things that the Torah, you just taught these nice 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old children that according to science, the world is 4 billion years old. Now they go to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, this is the year 5,786. Rebbe, what does that mean, 5,786? That's from the time of creation. But Rebbe, I learned in science class that the world is 4.5 billion. The answer the Rebbe gives or doesn't give there is going to stick in that kid's head forever until he gets an answer. And that's what's going on. So if you don't have to take federal money. You want to have a school, okay? Maybe you have to do certain things from law. I don't know. But you're taking federal money, there's strings attached, okay? So now you're taking federal money. You know you have to teach these secular subjects. You have to have balance. You have to have mashkilah. You have to give the balance, which means in the Torah classes, they have to know what's being taught in the secular classes and make sure the Torah perspective is taught actively. Don't wait for the question. Anticipate the question. What's that called? That's called the seder. We have 4 children. One of the children is what? Tam. Why is he Tam? Why is a child Tam? The Chacham is Chacham, right? His father was from, he's from. Who's the Rasha? The Rasha, his grandfather was from, but his father is Rasha. No. He's the Rasha. He's the first one. So he's the mold breaker, right? His father was from, his father was observant, his father believed in God. He's got another idea. That's the Rasha. Okay? What's the Tam? The Tam is the son of the Rasha, meaning he's got the grandfather who's from, but he's got the father that's not. So he doesn't know because he's got two important people in his life telling him opposite things. That's why he's Tam. What's the halacha? At petachlo. You have to start the conversation. The child of the Tam is She'eino Li'da Lish'al. He doesn't even have the questions anymore. And the child of the She'eino Li'da Lish'al, according to the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, that child's not at the Seder.
Yeah.
That child's married to a Goya. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. A couple generations. That's all. Show me 5 generations of Reformed Jews. Let me see that. Show me an example where you have a Reformed Jew, 5 generations. It's either they become from or they fall off completely. Most of them fall off completely. The children are not Jewish. Okay? So we have to be this is the time for strengthening emunah. We don't take anything for granted. I learned this also in a class. I was giving once a class. This is many, many years ago in the synagogue where I was the acting rabbi. And again, Baal Tshuva, they want to do the right thing. They just need to know what the right thing is. And as soon as they hear the right thing to do, boom, this guy was not Bukhari, by the way. I think he was Moroccan. Okay? And what happened? I was teaching a class. I forgot the topic of the class. And I mentioned the word lav. Now, if you didn't grow up you don't know what a lav is. What's a lav? Lav. Lamed, Aleph, Vav. No. You think about the English word lavatory. No. Lav. It's an Aramaic word. A lav is a lo ta'aseh. Any commandment in the Torah that is a lo ta'aseh is called a lav. A person is over on a lav with action. Generally, there's 40 lashes, 39 lashes. Yes, that's called a lav. So I mentioned the word lav in passing, thinking that everybody in this room knows what a lav is. And the guy who would come, one of the first people to my class, because he knew I had no problem with ever asking a question. There's no stupid question. There are only stupid answers. There are no stupid questions. So he asked me, what's a lav? So this wasn't a class where I wanted to give lo taseh. So I tried in my mind very quickly to think about a lav that was straightforward that everybody knows. And I said, here I'm going to give you an example of a lav. In the Torah, it says you're not allowed to shave with a blade. Right? That's a lav. It says in the Torah, it says, right? It's a lo taseh. The person who shaves with a blade gets 39 lashes. Yes, straightforward. And I continued on with the class. 3 weeks later, his wife calls me. Rabbi Grossman, I have a question. My husband hasn't shaved in 3 weeks. What did you say? I'm like, I had to think about this for a second because I don't remember giving a class on shaving. And I thought back. I said, he didn't even know. He was shaving with a blade his whole life. No one had ever told him this is not allowed. And he figured that you can't shave. So he stopped shaving. I said, okay, I'm going to call him right now. We'll fix it up. I taught about the concept of electric razor, told him which one he can get, the best one. That's good. Because some of the electric razors are problematic as well. And that was it. And I said, if you want to listen, I'm not going to say that I think you look marvelous with the beard, but if wife doesn't like it, you're going to have a conversation about that. But at the end of the day, here is the option, right? Do not take anything for granted. And there's no stupid questions. That's generally, I think that's the best way a teacher should be approaching things. There's no stupid questions. And every question doesn't mean I have to answer the question right now and there in the middle of the class when it has nothing to do with it, right? But I'm responsible for answering that question or pointing them in the right direction to get an answer if I don't know. Either I got to look it up and come back, and that's regarding any example, right? But especially in issues of hashkafa. That's what's missing in our generation because no one asks any questions. And if you open up the internet, you find answers that are wrong. You have to know where to look. It's more dangerous to look on the internet for answers to some of these emunah questions than any place else. Even if you're going to certain websites that appear to be rabbinic, but that's another conversation another day. AI, there's no brain there. I don't know what that is. That's someone's brain is there, and I don't trust that brain at all, okay? That's why it's much better we ask these questions, and we try to front load those questions. We ask them ahead of time. On Pesach, what did the children do? How does the Seder start? Ma nishtana halayla hazeh. The word ma there doesn't mean what. When you translate the word ma over there, it's not what. It is why. The entire Seder starts with the child asking a why question. And what does the leader of the Seder do for the next hour or 2 or 3 hours? Answers the why question. Good morning, that's called Jewish education. Whether it be children's education or, for that matter, adult education, it's all the same. You have to be able to answer the why. If you don't know the why, you got to look it up. And that's why what we're looking here is so important, because the Sod often gives the why that's missing from the Peshat. The tam, the reason, the underlying reason. The Sod gives us a lot of that background that's necessary. Again, you can do the mitzvot without the Sod. Na'aseh v'nishma. But when you learn the Sod and you understand the underlying impacts in the spiritual world and the Ratzon of, and why this is like that, it changes the entire dynamic. So the best way to get the answer to the why is to study what we're studying now. Okay, we got off a segue. Forgive me, I'm a little verbose today. Brit El Chai Hu Hanikra Brit Shalom. Okay, we have the concept of El Chai. What sphera does that connect to? Yesod. Thank you very much. He comes in late, but he still has the answer. Baruch Hashem. Okay. El Chai comes, there's the bell to the Yesod, right? El Chai. The lowest one is the Malchut that corresponds to Aleph Daled Nun Yud that we discussed a little bit in my class yesterday. Yes, Aleph Daled Nun Yud is the Malchut. That's the entranceway in order to get to the Shamayim. Without the Aleph Daled Nun Yud, you are locked out. That's the Tefillah. Okay. That, by the way, what I said is from this book, in the beginning of this book. If you go to the first, 10 or 15 classes in this series, which we're up to number 115 here, that's what it talks about. Aleph Daled Nun Yud, that being the opening to get all the tefillot to be answered. Okay? So El Chai is Yesod. That's the next one up from the Aleph Daled Nun Yud in the Sfiros, right? Brit El Chai, the covenant of El Chai, Hu Hanikra Brit Shalom. Where do we see the word Brit Shalom in the Torah? Be careful about correct. Give Steve a chance.
Okay.
Come on, you're there. I'm sure you know it.
I know I have.
You know it. I know you have it. I know you do. It's in there. I got it. I'll give you the pasuk. Hineni noten lo et beriti shalom.
Our Kohen.
Tahat asher.
Yeah, go on.
תחת אשר קינא לאלוהיו ויכפר על בני ישראל. Pinchas.
I just couldn't pull it up. I don't know why.
Pinchas. And why did he get Brit Shalom? What did he do? He killed Zimri. And what was Zimri doing? What is a tzaddik? Why is Yosef called Yosef HaTzaddik? Why?
Walked away from Arayot.
Specifically Arayot in general, but one particular Arayot, which is the Shikse. The Shikse, right? God has, whatever, there's not a lot of tolerance. And on the Sod's point of view, with the Shikse is bad news. Shikse is taking the Brit Milah, which basically is the signature of God on your male body, and putting it in a place that it's not supposed to be. It's like taking a Sefer Torah and bringing it into the bathroom. And I think that's probably not as bad as what I said. Because you bring a Sefer Chas v'Shalom, you do that, it's disrespectful to the Sefer Torah, but you take it out of the bathroom, okay. Lo haya lo haveh, you do teshuvah. When you have relations with Goya, there's a possibility a child's going to be born. That child is not yours. That child is hers. That's how the Torah looks at it. Yes? If even a situation of mamzerut chas v'shalom, where a man has relations with eshetish, God forbid, big sin, no question about it. The child born of that is mamzer. But he has the worst yichus possible. He has no yichus. But the one yichus he has is he's a Jew if his mother's a Jew, and he's still connected to the fact, still his son. When a man has relations with Goya, the child is not his, it's hers. So therefore, the damage is permanent. Now, the mamzer also the damage is permanent, at least for the child, yes? So also very serious, okay? So Pinchas gets brit shalom, why? Because he defended the brit milah. And that's El Chai, Tzaddik Yesod Olam. All this we already discussed a little bit. Now we have a picture here of why the Torah says, Hineni noten lo et briti shalom. Now we understand why that is. Al yidei hayesod hanikra shalom, and the yesod is called shalom. Yes? Oseh shalom bimromav. Zocheh ha'adam lebrit Shabbat. Now we understand why, unlike the Ashkenazim who say good Shabbos, we say Shabbat Shalom. Now there's a reason why they say good Shabbos. What's the reason why they say good Shabbos?
They got it from German. Guten Tag, good morning.
They can't say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. They can't say that. So I think there's a halacha. No, there's a halacha. If a person is coming to Bet Knesset, let's say minyan is at 7:00. Okay, are you allowed at 6:30 to leave your house and go to talk to one of your friends? Okay, and say shalom to you. Now, if it happens to be that you're bringing your friend to Bet Knesset, or as you're walking to the synagogue, you pass by, that's not what we're talking about. You are not allowed to give shalom to another human being, to go out of your way to do that, right? Before giving shalom to God. So when let's say the minyan is 9:00, and I'm going for a walk at 6:30. I'm a lazy guy, so I go to the 9:00 minyan instead of the next minyan, right? How do I say good Shabbos to everybody when I'm going? That's why I think if I'm walking to shul, of course, you have to say Shabbat. You have to say hello, how are you, right? You have to say shalom aleichem. But how do you do that when you're not going to pray for another 3 hours and you're going to meet other people in the meantime? That's what it is. So they say good Shabbos is a way not to say Shabbat Shalom, because Shalom is the name of God.
That's why they say it. Is that
That's what I think. Haven't seen that 100%.
Does that suggest that it's wrong to say Shabbat Shalom?
No. It just suggests that go to shul when you wake up. Or stay home.
They say it after.
Once he's saying it, it's okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Anyway, and plus Shalom is the name of Hashem. You can't say it in places that are inappropriate. Right? You can't say it in a place where there's tinofa.
Say even in a mikveh, you can say good Shabbos.
Right. You can't say Shabbat. Why would it? First of all, man, maybe in a mikveh on a Shabbat, I guess, yes, in the morning. Okay, it's possible. Okay. So the Yesod is called
Friday night, before
the woman.
Some of the men do that.
Okay, fine. Al yidei Yesod hanikra Shalom. Yesod is called Shalom. Zocheh Adam lebrit Shabbat. Through the Shalom, the Yesod, that's how a person gets to the Brit of Shabbat. Lebrit HaKeshet, the Brit of the rainbow. Ulebrit HaTorah, and the Brit of the Torah, which means through the Shalom, all of these Brit come. The Brit Shabbat, Brit Keshet, and Brit HaTorah. The Yesod draws from the Da'at Elyon. What's the Da'at Elyon? That's the Da'at, which is between the Chokhmah and the Binah. Okay? Et hachiyut v'haneshama hakidosha, the life and the holy neshama, nichneset umitpashetet b'chol chekei adam umeirabo. The neshama comes in, we're talking about here neshama yetera, comes into the person and then shines in that person everywhere. That's the whole concept of Shabbat. You get neshama yetera. Good? And when does it come in?
When you bring in Shabbat.
When? Bring me a siddur, please, a white one.
So the
Come to the Chadodi here when you're saying
And
boy
Chadodi.
kala, boy kala. That's the point, right?
1 point, and then
That's-
There are
Yeah,
three
that's right.
aspects
All right.
of neshama yetera. There's a nefesh, there's the ruach, and there's a neshama. Okay, good. All right, so let's see. When you look at the Siddur, the white one, because this one, Baruch Hashem, has all the goodies. Okay. When you say Toch Emunei Am Segula Boi Chala Shabbat Malkita, it says over Tosefet HaNefesh. Why is that Tosefet HaNefesh? I'm allowed to ask that. In this class, I can ask that question.
It's the lowest.
Tell me why. Who wrote this poem? Al-Kabetz. And who is his friend? Rav Moshe Cordovero and Rav Yosef Karo, which means the three of these guys hung out in Sfat during the time of the Ari. Okay, you understand the greatness of the Lechadodi. It's not stam. Okay, why here? What does the Kala represent? Yes, the Shekhinah. Why is it called Kala?
It's a bride.
From the word kol. Kol is all. What contains all? When the malchut is filled with shefa, that's called all, as opposed to dal. Dal is when the malchut is empty. Okay? Kol ba.
Kol ba, everything is in her.
There's a pasuk in the Torah that says, "Avraham zaken ba bayamim b'Adonai berach et Avraham bakol." And there's a difference of opinions of what bakol is. One of the opinions is, what is bakol? He had a daughter. Bakol. And then another opinion says he didn't have a daughter. That was the bracha. Why? Because who's she going to marry? The worst thing in the world is to have a daughter. There's no one for her to marry. So he didn't have. So one opinion says the mitzvah, he had a daughter. The other opinion says, no, he didn't have a daughter. That was Hashem bracha berachat Avram bakol. Is a 3 or 4 way machloket over there between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, if I'm not mistaken. And what do they mean by kol? So you see the word kol has to do with kala. That has to do with the Shekhinah. That has to do with the malchut. What name? Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud. Okay? Now look at the name Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud. Inside there is Dan. Daled, Nun. That's Din. Din is limitation. Yes? But then there's an Aleph before, right? And a Yud afterwards. Aleph and Yud is Rachamim. So you see, even in the name Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud, we have the sod over here of the role of the Malchut, which is to be the one to receive Shefa. When the Malchut receives Shefa, she is full, she is kol. That's called Kala, Boi Kala. And that's the Nefesh. Nefesh is the lowest aspect of the soul that corresponds to the Olama Asiyah, the Malchut. Yes? Okay. Now, when's the next place we have? Very good. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach, it says here, Keshoneh Baruch Hashem HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. That's Tosefet HaRuach. You went up a step. Why is this the Ruach? What is that connected to? Come on, listen. He's new. You guys should know this.
Why is it connected to what's the
No, what is it?
Ruach. We just said the Nefesh is Kala. Okay, it could be Yesod, it's Zeranpin. It could be any one of the 6, right? Or all 6. The Tiferet, right? Okay. The Yesod is a summary of the 6. You know what I'm talking about? We got this? There's 10 sfirot, right? Okay. And then there are 6 sfirot. Chesed, Gvurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. From the Pasuk, Lecha Hashem Hagdula V'Ava Tiferet, right? We learned all the sfirot from that Pasuk, which we say every single day in the Shirat, right before the Shirat Hayam, right? And that Pasuk, you have the 6 over there. And in the part Sufim, I'm not going to explain that now. They're grouped together as 6. They're called the Ze'er Anpin, which means small face. Okay? That is called, you have the Malchut, which is called Shechintei, What is the Ze'er Anpin called? Kucha Brichu, which is the masculine. Is God a woman? Is God a man? Stupid question. He's both and he's neither at the same time. Okay? There are masculine attributes. That's when Hashem is giving us. That's us being the feminine, and we are receiving. Therefore, he's giving. He's got the quality of being the masculine. But we give to God. How do we give to God? Tefillah. Tefillah, we give to God. We are giving to God. Tunu oz lelohim. What is oz? Torah tefillah. This is how we give to Hashem. In that situation, Hashem is kavyachol the feminine, and we are the masculine. Okay? So, Baruch Hu, what are we doing in Baruch Hu? What does it mean? Baruch Hashem HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Yud Kei Vav Kei. Right? What does Yud Kei Vav Kei correspond to? The Tiferet, which means Kucha Brichu. Yud Kei Vav Kei, we're going to get to that. That's chapter 5. In chapter 5, we're going to learn the Tif, and that's, by the way, the biggest chapter in this book. Okay? Chapter Shaare 5, the 5th gate. That's the Tiferet. That corresponds to the name Yud Kei Vav Kei.
Spelled.
Yud Kei Vav Kei. Read as Amonai nowadays. Yud Kei Vav Kei.
You said that was Malchut, though.
No.
Aleph Daled Yud. Oh.
Aleph Daled Nun Yud,
Read
written
Aleph Daled.
as Aleph Daled Nun Yud.
Malchut, okay, sorry.
That's Malchut. That's why when someone yesterday was saying Hashem Sfatai Tiftach, I corrected him. The pasuk is not Hashem Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Agiti Latecha.
All right. That's just
The pasuk is Aleph Daled Nun Yud Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Agiti Latecha. Now that's incorrect, because if it was Yud Kei Vav Kei, that would not be the pasuk the rabbis put in. Why?
That's not the opening.
Because that's not the opening.
because that's Tiferet, and we need Malchut to get it.
Aha! Now we're in the sod.
You're a little too high up.
Now we're in the sod. So I corrected yesterday our friend, because why? Even though he had no idea. I mean, when I explained it to him, he thought I was just picking on the letters. No, because it's very different. There's a reason why that pasuk is Aleph Daled Nun Yud Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Agiti Latecha. Okay? Hello, ladies. Okay, so we see the Ruach. The Ruach comes in. You got it in the video. Don't worry about it. Thank you. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You have a wonderful day. Okay? No problem. Pass it on through. Anyway, so Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Yud Kei Vav Kei, that corresponds to the Ze'er Anpin. That's the Ruach. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Now let's go to the last one.
Now we're going for the Hashem.
Where does that come in?
That comes in Ufrosh Aleinu Ve'al Yerushalayim.
It's not Ufrosh, by the way, just be careful. Ufrosh is to explain. Ufros, with a sin, is
Oh,
to spread out.
what's Ufrosh?
Ufros, okay? Now let's look at that. Ufros aleinu Yisrael Sukkot Shalom, right? It's in the bracha of Hashkiveinu, with the extra part that's Shabbat that's unique. We don't say Dever V'Shechina, all that kind of stuff on Shabbat, because there's none of that on Shabbat, right? We change it, V'Hoshi'enu Ma'an Shemecha V'Yagen Ba'adenu, and then you stand up right away, yes? And that's why on Shabbat, by the way, unlike all other times of the week, we stand up for the Kaddish that is before Baruch Hu. Why? Sfaradim generally don't, if you're standing already, you continue standing. But there's one Kaddish you stand for that you're not saying. Which Kaddish is that? The Kaddish of Arbit. That Kaddish that you say right before Arbit, you stand up for. Why do you stand up for that one? Because when you're receiving the Tosefet of the Ruach, you want to be standing. One of the reasons. When the Ashkenazim, they sit for Lechadodi. Sfaradim generally stand for Lechadodi. Yes? Ashkenazim sit for Lechadodi.
Some sort of sit, but they stand up at the end.
They're learning from the Ashkenazim. Okay? Sfaradim stand up for Lechadodi. And not only do they stand up for Lecha Dodi, you face the back of the synagogue from the beginning of Lecha Dodi. That's-
I've seen
that's the-
where they just turn around in the boy Kala, they turn around.
They face
Face
west.
west. They're facing east the whole time, but then
I-
over here, that's what we did. for
I
years.
hear you. I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing here.
Maybe it's wrong,
There's
but
other
some-
ways to do it.
Yeah.
There's gonna be facing.
And think about it. When do we? Why? Okay. When Rav Alkabetz wrote Boi Kala, when he wrote Lecha Dodi, what was he? Where are you supposed to be?
The field.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, meaning what? Go, you man, go meet the Kala, which means you, like we see with the Bedekin, that the man comes down from the thing and comes to greet his wife, make sure it's her, and then walks with her. You have to leave. So in the olden days, they did Kabbalat Shabbat in the field, facing what direction? West. Why facing west? The Shekhinah is in the Ma'arav. It's all sod. When you see this, it's and therefore, of course, you're standing in the beginning of the Chadodi because you have to be facing west. As soon as you start saying Lechadodi Likrat Kala, you're doing Ashkenaz Sefard, you turn to the right, you never turn to the left, and you face the west. And that's how you greet the Kala. We don't go into the fields anymore. I don't know why. We should. We don't go into the fields. But we should be going into the fields facing west to greet the Kala. That's the Shekhinah, which is the Ma'arav. So we're standing. Ashkenazim even stand for the end part. Why? They don't realize it, but because they're accepting Neshama Yetera. That's why they stand for Boi Kala. Now, the Ashkenazim always stand for Kaddish, so they don't have a problem with Baruch Hu. Right? And then Hashkivenu, they're supposed to be standing as well. Oh, no, what's going on up here? Froze. Okay, went again. Okay. So we stand, and Hashkivenu, it says, Ufros alenu sukat shalomecha. We'll just finish this and we'll go. You can go. What is this, the Tosefet Neshama? Why is this Ufros alenu? We have to analyze these things. Now that we're in the Sod world, we have to understand what's going on here. What does this correspond to? The Neshama corresponds to Ima, the Binah, the world of the Bria. And what is the role of the Ima? The concept of Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah. Okay? Remember, there's Shekhinah Tata'ah and there's Shekhinah Ila'ah. There's the lower feminine, that's the Malchut, and then there's the upper feminine, that's the Binah. And this is talking about the Binah, and that's why you get Neshama Yetera. Okay, it's a good place for you to bow out if you need to, okay? Thank you for coming. You have to think about that a little bit, okay?
Okay, so Neshama Yetera. Shabbat.
There are three aspects, correct?
What is the third? Okay, so we went Lechadodi.
Hashkivenu.
Oh, that's the third one. Okay, Hashkivenu.
And why in Hashkivenu? Ah, this is good stuff. Why in Hashkivenu?
Hashkivenu Shalom.
Why in Hashkivenu? Yesterday we discussed the Gemara that says you have to have no interruption between Geula and Tfilah. And the question the Gemara asked is, what about Amonai Svatai Tiftacho Fiagiti Latecha? The conclusion of the Gemara was that's called Tfilah Richata, which means that Tfilah really doesn't begin with the word Baruch. The Tfilah really begins with the word Amonai. Very good. Continuing on that Gemara, the Gemara says, and what about Hashkivenu? We don't have Hashkivenu in Shachrit. We have Hashkivenu in Arbit during the week also. And what's the question the Gemara asks? You just said you have to connect Geula Tfilah, Gaal Yisrael, and now you have another bracha called Hashkivenu. Where is the Simichat Geula Tfilan Arbit? You stuck in an extra bracha called Hashkivenu. What's the answer of the Gemara?
Last time to rest.
What's the answer? No, you're not going to guess it. You have to know it. What is the conclusion of the Gemara? It's called Geula Arichata. Just like we have Amonai Sfatai Tiftach is a long tefillah, which means the tefillah begins where? With Amonai Sfatai Tiftach. That's the beginning of the tefillah. In Arbit, the Geula is not Gaal Yisrael. The Geula in Arbit finishes where? Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu, what's it talking about? What is Hashkivenu? When are you going to rest? When you're dead.
When you're transferring from one world to
That we already learned this. There's no rest for the tzaddikim in this world. Even when they're sleeping, they're not resting. There's no yeshiva ba'olam hazeh. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurevi be'eretz Canaan. Zok the Rashi. What does he say? Bikesh Yaakov Avinu lashevet b'shava. Yaakov Avinu wanted to sit and relax, wanted to be in peace. Kafat alav rugzo shel Yosef. There's no rest in this world. The only rest is in the next world. We talked about this already. The world of the neshamot, which is a partial rest, but that's not a complete rest. Why is the world of neshamot not a complete rest? Because there's no body. Where is the ultimate complete rest? The world of the resurrection. And that's called Geula Arichata, because since at night we're talking about what is Arbit? What is that idea? At night, that's the Galut. That's the exile. In order to have, what did we say before? In order to have resurrection of the dead, you have to have death. No death, no resurrection. In order to have the ultimate Geula before the coming of the Techiyat HaMetim, you have to have Galut. First, you have to have Galut. And then the end of the Galut is not Gaal Yisrael, because we have Gaal Yisrael in Shachrit. Egypt was Gaal Yisrael, but it was incomplete. Why is it incomplete? Because there's another galut afterwards. So therefore, it's not complete. Shacharit, it's sufficient to say Gal Yisrael because we're talking about the morning, which is the original Geula, which is Mitzrayim. Arbit is talking about the final Geula, which is going to be after the Galut. The final Galut, right? Therefore, Hashkivenu follows. Why? Because that's talking about the resurrection of the dead. And what better place to get the Neshama Yetera on Shabbat than in Hashkivenu? Because where does the Neshama Yetera come from? It comes from the Tzror HaChaim. It comes from the Binah. And that is called Nitzchiyut. That's why you have Shekhinah Tata'ah, Shekhinah Ila'ah. The Shekhinah Tata'ah has two phases. One is empty and one is full. Sometimes the Shekhinah is Dala Va'aniyah, poor and empty. And sometimes the Shekhinah is full. It all depends on the tzaddik. Well, if the tzaddik's not doing his job, then it's empty, no?
The Shekinah will be present.
The Shekhinah is present in the Galut with the Jewish people no matter where they are.
Yes, but how can it be empty?
It can be empty if the Jewish people are not doing their work. Okay? And where do we learn that the Shekhinah goes into the Geula, it goes into the Galut with the Jewish people?
Hashem tells Abraham.
Doesn't say anything about the Shekhinah over there, Habibi.
Somewhere, the Shekinah will go with us everywhere.
I'm asking,
Also, the Shekinah will be also in Galut with us.
Yes, that's in the Tanakh. That's in the Navi. I'm asking, where is the first remez and hint? You're not going to get this because it's sod. Where is the first remez that the Shekinah goes into the exile with the Jewish people?
Thank you for the question.
ואלה שמות בני ישראל הבאים ממצרימה את יעקב איש וביתו באו. Now, the Zohar asks a question. What is the word et over there? ואלה שמות בני ישראל הבאים ממצרים יעקב איתו איש וביתו באו. What's this extra word et? It says et Yaakov. It could have said Habayim Mitzrayim Yaakov Ish ubeto ba'u ito, or Ish ubeto ba'u ito. Habayim Mitzrayim. So we see it says et Yaakov. What is et? That's the Shekhinah. Iti milevanon tavoi, iti milevanon kala. This is the et. This is the Shekhinah. That's what the Zohar says. It goes to Shaare Shirim and proves the word et. It's talking about the Shekhinah. So et Yaakov means what? When Yaakov went down to Egypt, the Shekhinah went with him. And what's the and? What is this and? And what? And the Shekhinah, it's the remez, it's sod over here. Et Yaakov is, with Yaakov came the Shekhinah. So therefore, anytime the Jewish people are in the Galut, the Shekhinah is with them. The Zohar learns it from here and says that's the case. It says the same thing in Bavel.
The first time was with
Yaakov, when he came down to Egypt. Bavel, where's the
70 or the 71?
Et Yaakov, which with Yaakov is the Shekhinah. And where do we see this in Bavel? That's the next exile. The Jewish people are very depressed. I talked about this once before, but I don't think I recorded it, so it's worthwhile bringing it up here. There's a big difference between the exile of Egypt and the exile of Bavel. Which was worse?
Babel,
Why?
because they're assimilated a lot.
No, that's not the question I'm asking. You're right. That's good. That's not saying you're incorrect. That's not the answer to the question. I answered it too vague. So your answer is a correct answer, but it wasn't the one I'm looking for.
I think it was on-off torture instead of all the time.
When they went down to Egypt, they were already in a. There was already a suffering situation. They had no temple. They had no sacrifices, right? Yaakov, what does he say when he gets down to Egypt? Me'at v'ra'im shenei hayai, which means Yaakov had a difficult life. He was accustomed to suffering. The Jewish people were accustomed to suffering. The Shvatim were accustomed. Yosef was accustomed to suffering. So therefore, when they get to Egypt, now the suffering starts again. They're already acclimated to suffering. In Bavel, they were bringing sacrifices in the temple beforehand. They were living in the land of Israel. Everybody underneath their grape and underneath their fig tree. Everybody was mabsut and relaxed. And then God says, out you go. That suffering was much greater because they were accustomed to being mefunakim, spoiled.
And it was on their home turf.
Well, they were kicked out of their home turf, but that's not the issue. They had all these evidence. They had all. That's why Yaakov. Let's go back. Yaakov says, Vayira Yaakov me'od. We asked the question, what was Yaakov afraid of? God promised Yaakov what? I'm going to guarantee I'm going to be with you the whole time until you come back to the land of Israel. He's not back in the land of Israel yet. Why is he afraid? He's meeting Esau. So what? Why is he afraid? Why is he afraid?
Sadiq never is so positive that he's right on track.
When Yaakov left to go to Lavan, he knows he loves God. How does he know he loves God? L'shem shamayim. Because he has nothing. If I love God, I got nothing. It's very easy. Of course it has to be L'shem shamayim, since I got nothing. Now he comes back. He has Yeshli Kol. I have everything. How do I know I love God the same way I love God when I had nothing? And the only way to know that is to be tested, which means to take it away. He doesn't want to be tested, so he wants to verify. How do I know I love it? That's what he's afraid of. He's afraid that his ahavav Hashem is damaged. Why? Because he has everything. Now come back here. Bavel, they had everything when they were in the land of Israel. Now they have nothing. If you have nothing and then it gets more nothing, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you have everything and then you have nothing, that's a terrible. And they started to lose hope. In Bavel, even though it was only 70 years, as opposed to the exile in Egypt was 210 years. And 86 years of servitude. In 70 years, during those 70 years, they were already becoming depressed. They were losing hope. What did God do? He sent Yechezkel to receive a prophecy outside the land of Israel about the Merkavah. One in chapter 1 and one in chapter 10. And why did he say so much? The Talmud says he said so much because he was like a person who lives in the fields, who's coming to the city and amazed by everything. Whereas someone in the city like Ishaya didn't have to write a lot because he was accustomed to seeing God all the time. That's what the Talmud says. That's not what Zohar said. The Zohar says that Yechezkel received a tremendous revelation. Why? To give the Jewish people in exile hope. What's the hope? The Shekhinah is with you even though you're in the exile. I did say that, but now it's recorded so everybody else can hear it. That's all from the Zohar in the beginning of Parashat Shmot. Okay? That if you look at inside, it's all the beginning of Shmot talks about exactly what we just said.
Shmot Zohar?
Shmot. The Zohar and Sefer Shmot discusses what we just discussed about the Shekhinah going into the exile with the Jewish people. Okay. Let's go back here. So we see Brit Shalom. We have the three Brit, Brit Shabbat, Brit Hakesh, and Brit Torah. That the Yesod draws from the Dat Elyon, and of course the Dat Elyon receives it from where? It receives it from the Binah, yes? So the Neshama comes in and shines inside the person. In the Brit Milah is revealed the holiness of the Neshama, of the soul. Shenoten HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'adam. Umitgaleh ha'ot yod, the ot yod, hareshima bebrit, and that's why we said the yod, the brit. When you do the brit milah and you do the priyah, and you said you expose the atara, that's the yod. Continue.
The smallest letter?
Yes.
Okay.
What does the Gemara say? Ever katan yesh ba'adam. There's a small limb inside a man. The one who makes it hungry, it's satisfied. The one who satisfies it makes it hungry. Why did it say ever katan? The pshat very straightforward. We know exactly what limb we're talking about. Ever katan. The yud is the smallest letter. Okay. B'brit milah mitgaleh kedushat neshama. We thought mitgaleh ha'ot yod. Harishima b'brit, shehi kenegda chokhmah shor shechayim, and the brit, the yod is kenegda chayim, which is the chokhmah, which is the source of the chayim. Ubeshabbat mitosefet la'adam kedusha uneshama yetera, and on Shabbat there's extra kedusha to the man, and that's why he receives a holy soul, neshama yetera. V'chen kol hasaga shel adam b'Torah hi ayidei shemitgaleh bo haneshama kedusha. And any type of revelation, any type of understanding a person has about the Torah on Shabbat comes from the neshama yetera. Kidichtiv ruach hi be'enosh v'nishmat shadai tevinem. Shaneshama nonhenet la'adam et haskala. The neshama gives the person haskala beTorah kedosha. That's why Gentiles do not study Torah and understand it. Why? They have ruach and they have nefesh. They don't have neshama. Neshama is only for a Jew. Okay?
You only have nefesh.
No, Gentiles have ruach and nefesh. They don't have neshama. Of course, they convert, they get neshama. Okay, we said that already. Ayen ba'arichut benefesh ha'chaim. Again, look at Rav Chaim of Volozhin's book in the first Shaar. Ayen bezor b'chukotai, and then look at Zohar and Parashat b'chukotai. Shetzadik v'tzedek hem brit. Tzadik and tzedek is brit. The ayen od Shabbat shehu zachor v'shamor. We also have the concept of Shabbat. Zachor v'shamor. Nikret brit. It's called brit. Kidichtiv. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וגם על התורה נאמר אלה דברי הברית, and also the Torah is called ברית. אלה דברי הברית, right? That's where we see that. Where's that pasuk? אלה דברי הברית. At the end of the klalot in Parashat Kitavo. Milevad habrit asher karati tam mechorev. Which is a brit that they had in Arvot Moav. Really? It doesn't say Moshe kibel Torah Sinai and Me'arvot Moav. It says Moshe kibel Torah Sinai. So what's the brit in Arvot Moav? I said this once before. Remind everyone. The pasuk is Ela Dve Habrit, right? Asher karat Adonai et Bnei Yisrael milevad habrit. In addition to the brit that was at Chorev, which is Sinai. The Chorev, the brit is Sinai, it's the Torah. What is the brit in the Arvot Moav? There's a new mitzvah there? I'm not aware of any new mitzvahs that were given in Arvot Moav.
No, there was that war, that little battle.
Where's the mitzvah? Where's the brit? Where's the Torah? It says there's another brit. It's Arvot Moav. What's the brit? The remez is in the word Arvot. Arvot in Hebrew means plains. Plains. But we have another concept. Arevut.
What?
Arevut. What is arevut? Guarantor. Kol yisa arevim zebazeh. At Moab, at the Arvot Moab, we took upon ourselves the responsibility for other Jews. On Har Sinai, we said Naaseh v'nishma. What is that?
We'll do first.
Naaseh.
We will do first.
We will do. But I'm speaking about myself. What you do is your business. I'm agreeing to do it. You're agreeing to do it. I'm not taking upon myself responsibility for you.
Everyone takes ownership of
Everybody takes responsibility for themselves. That's Har Sinai. Naaseh v'nishma. We will do, which means everybody, because all the Jewish people said together, Naaseh v'nishma, which means every Jew took responsibility individually. But we did not take responsibility for other Jews at that point. No. When do we take responsibility for other Jews? Arvot Moav. And when do the klalot come? The klalot don't come because we are religious Jews. The klalot come because we're religious Jews and we don't care about other Jews that are not. That brings the klalot. We forget the concept of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. We are responsible. If this person's Mehalel Shabbat, it affects me negatively. I have to help him to be Shomer Shabbat. We are one body. That's the concept of Arevut. Yehuda is the Melech. Why is Yehuda the Melech? Anochi Erevenu. He says to Yaakov, I will take responsibility for Binyamin. Unlike Reuven, who said, you will kill my children. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so much. Great. Have a nice day. Someone else dying for your mistake? Yaakov is going to want to punish your children for your mistake? That's Christianity. That doesn't work. No. Et shnei banai tamit. No, that is not it. Yehuda comes along and says, Anochi erevenu, I will take responsibility for him, which means if I don't bring Binyamin back, I will take his place. That's called Arevut Zeh Bazeh. That's the end of Breshit, and that's the end of the Torah. The whole concept of Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh.
Leaders take responsibility for everyone?
First of all, okay, good. Now, why is it that we can have a Atzlani Minyan on Sunday and pray at 9 o'clock? When is the ideal Zman of Kriyat Shema?
Nets.
Right before Nets, because Nets is the Tefillah.
Right.
Kriyat Shema is supposed to be right before Nets. The Gemara discusses that the best time for Kriyat Shema is right before sunrise. How come you're allowed to say Kriyat Shema up until 3 hours in the day?
Allow people to.
The Torah says, "Ubishoch bechav kumecha." Right? So therefore, when you go to sleep, when you wake up. When do people wake up? Generally, people wake up before dawn. And that's what they would do. They wake up before dawn, they would go pray, and then after sunrise, they finish tefillah, they go to work in the fields because there's no light, you can't work in the fields. Nowadays, we're a little confused. We have, burning the midnight oil over here because we have lights. But in the olden days, when you had a farm, right, when it was nighttime,
Lights out is
there's
lights.
nothing to do. You went home, that's why, there's nothing to do. So why is it that the Zman of Kriyat Shema is 3 hours into the day? The Torah says, Ufkumecha, when you wake up. Who wakes up late? In the society we just discussed, where everybody is a farmer. Who wakes up late?
Nobody.
The Kohanim don't wake up late. Why? Because when they're on call in the Bet HaMikdash, we see that as soon as the dawn begins, that's when they start doing the work, because the Korban of Shacharit is done at sunrise. So the Kohanim are working from sunrise, before sunrise. What about the Leviim? The Leviim also. The regular people are in the fields. They're working at sunrise. Who's not working at sunrise? No, the mother's waking up at night to feed the children, the breastfeeding. No. Who's not working at night? Only one person. The king. The king, he doesn't have to wake up early. He's got people in the fields working for him, right? So since the king wakes up late, and then the Talmud says all of the Jewish people are the sons of kings. What do you call? Because the son of king. Who's the king? The king of all kings, master of the universe. The Torah in our parasha, what does it call us? Beni Bechori Yisrael. So we are the firstborn son of God. Therefore, we are sons of God. We're princes, which means we're also kings. So therefore, Ufkumecha, that allows you to wake up late for Kriyat Shema. Why? Because all the Jewish people are kings.
That was a long one.
I know that was a long one.
Okay. There's got to be another reason, though, because of
No, that's
the
what
day
Talmud
is
says.
divided into Shod Zmaniyot. After that Shod Zmaniyot, a different section of the day.
You study, go open up Masechet Brachot, look it up. The Zman Kriyat Shema in the morning. It's in the, I think it's the first parak. Look, you'll see.
So the rabbis, so
Says-
the Kohanim,
Says it very clearly, because all the Jewish people are Bnei Melachim. Like I said, when you study the Gemara, you have to look at what it says from a halachic point of view, and then what's the underlying. Okay? All the Jewish people are Melachim. And why are all the Jewish people also Melachim? Because what's our destiny? First of all, what does it say in the Torah? Ve'atem tiyu li mamlechet. What is mamlechet?
Kingdom, kingship.
A king. You're all kings and Kohanim at the same time. How does that work? The Chashmonaim messed this up. They were kings and they were Kohanim, and it didn't work out so well for them. How are the Jewish people going to be kings and Kohanim at the same time? Charlie, you listening?
Yes.
How are the Jewish people, when are the Jewish people going to be kings and Kohanim at the same time? That pasuk, Ve'atem tihiyu. What is tihiyu?
You will be.
Will be. When? Mashiach. What happens when Mashiach comes?
They're going to be teachers. Teachers are going to be teachers. We're gonna be
Teachers are
Kohanim.
Kohanim. And what about kings?
Well, they'll also.
She'ibud Malchuyot. What does She'ibud Malchuyot mean?
We will be their taskmasters.
We will be their kings, which means all of the other
We'll be their
kings,
rulers.
all the 70 kings of the world will have another king. That king is called Yisrael.
They're going to be serfs.
Correct.
Serfs.
And what does the name Yisrael mean? Kisarita. What does Sarita mean? You warred Batuchal, and you overcame. So when the Mashiach comes, the Jewish people are going to function as Mamlechet Kohanim, a kingdom of priests. Doesn't mean we're going to do the Avodah in the Bet HaMikdash. That's going to be for the Kohanim. But vis-a-vis the Goyim in the world, we're going to be their leaders and we're going to be their teachers. Give me another example of a person that was a leader and a priest. It's only one. He was a melech, not just a leader, a melech and Kohen. Only one example. Can't be afterwards because anyone who's descended from David HaMelech is entitled to be king. He was not a melech. Moshe!
Okay.
For 7 days he was Kohen.
During the Miluim.
Exactly. And then the rest of his life he was melech. And ultimately, even though Moshe Rabbeinu was only Kohen, which means functioning as a Kohen amongst the Jewish people for 7 days, right? The rest of the time in the Midbar, what did he do? He did the job of the Kohanim when they're not serving in the temple. What is the job of the Kohanim when they're not serving in the temple? The other 50 weeks of the year, they're off. Teachers, there you go. Moshe Rabbeinu is the teacher. Therefore, we see the concept of Melech and Kohen. That's Moshe. Now we understand why. Another reason why the Mashiach is invested with the Neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because when Mashiach comes, he's going to be a king of the world, and he's also going to be a teacher. What is the Mashiach's responsibility? To rebuke the nations. To tell them where they went off the reservation. Oh, yes. It's Yeshaya. It's going to rebuke the nations. Okay? It's all, you just keep going. You just thread the needle throughout everything. It's all this, it's all one. The Gamal Torah Ne'emar, we said that already. Okay. I'm sorry. Well, no, the Gamal Torah Ne'emar el Dvei Brit Shaare Tov Ra Bahem Tov Yesod V'Din B'Malchut. So we see the concept of Tov and Ra. What is the Tov? The Tov is the Yesod. The Ra is the Malchut. What does it mean Ra? Empty. That's when the Daliyah, when she's empty, then that's Ra. What do we say? What happens when the Malchut is empty and nothing's giving anything to Malchut? What happens? Side action. That's called Ra. Therefore, we don't want the Malchut to be empty. Ever. Okay? Okay.
That concept of emptiness is the first time in my life I hear it.
It shouldn't be. You've heard it before, but you've never heard it said like this. Let me ask you a question. What is the concept of the Tzimtzum, Charlie?
That Hashem restrained himself.
What is the word that, if you look at the wording of the Etz Chaim, what does it say? First, there was Or Pashut. Or, again, metaphor. We're not talking about real light. Or Pashut.
All over.
Then Allah Birtzono, it became amongst his Ratzon, the Ratzon of Hashem, to create a world. The first step in creating the world is to make a spiritual space for limited beings. That's called the Tzimtzum. What does it say about the Tzimtzum?
He retracted himself.
It's a halal. What is a halal? Okay, in Hebrew, what's a khalil? Flute.
Because it's hollow.
It's hollow.
Space, empty
It's
space.
got nothing inside. The way a flute works,
It's empty.
empty.
Yeah.
We talked about it. See, it's in your notes. You got to go look at his pages of notes he's got over there. It's in your notes. See there? So the halal is empty. Now, of course, it's not really empty. It's really has everything. How do we understand that? The halal, it says, is empty, rek, empty. But really, what's in the halal? Everything created. So it's not empty. It's full of everything created. The root of everything created is in the halal. So why is it called empty? Vis-a-vis the or that's around, it's empty. Remember, we talked about everything is called erech. Comparison, vis-a-vis. So vis-a-vis the or pashut that's surrounding the halal is empty. But everything's in it that is created. Which means everything created vis-a-vis the creator is zero.
אנחנו מה? מה אנחנו?
So it's empty space to be able to create inside.
One second, I lost my class. Hold on a second. Here we
No,
go.
it's
Back. Say that again.
You said that the empty space is to have the ability to create.
No. God doesn't. No. The empty space, the halal, is there for the concept of limitation. Ultimately, what is the tzimtzum? The tzimtzum is contained within the Ein Sof, is the concept of limitation. Has to be. Why? Because inside the Ein Sof is everything. One of the concepts is limitation. But the limitation in the Ein Sof is nullified by the infinite of the Ein Sof. What do you have when you have a negative with a negative? That's called a positive, right? So the limitation that's contained within the Ein Sof, if you can say that, okay, is completely overwhelmed and canceled out and negated by all of the infinite. The tzimtzum is basically shutting that off. It's turning off that negation part, allowing there to manifest the concept of limitation. We discussed this before with the paint. I said, I have a white piece of paper, and all I have is white paint. And I want to use white paint to paint on the white piece of paper. I can do it until I turn blue, nothing's going to show. In order to paint on that white piece of paper, what do I have to do? I have to get black paint a space on that white paper, and then I can paint with the white on top of the black, and now it's got contrast.
Either way, the white is there.
The white represents the Or Pashut, which is unchanged. Tzimtzum, no tzimtzum, nothing changes about the Or Pashut, right? What happens then is, order there to be the appearance of existence, you have to have that black, which then is the concept of removing the cancellation of limitation, allowing limitation to manifest itself, and now you can create beings that have a limitation.
Physicality is a limitation.
What's that?
Physicality itself, physical, is a limitation.
Angels also have limitation, and they're not physical. The world of the Bria, that is not physical. It has limitation. The world of the Yetzirah is not physical. It has limitation. The world of Atzilut has no limitation. So therefore, the world of Atzilut is godly. But what do we say about the world of Atzilut? There's something new about the world of Atzilut. What do we say? There is something new. Now you're missing what we learned from the Ramchal. What is new about the world of Atzilut? Beforehand, it did not have the power to be perceived. After the Tzimtzum, now it has the power to be perceived.
I thought you said we can't touch it, we can't perceive it.
We can talk about it. We know it exists. We wouldn't have known it exists. I didn't say the prophets see through the Malchut into the Atzilut, right? They're not there. They see into it. But the idea that we can even see into it, that is all because of the Tzimtzum.
So in your analogy, the black was the halal?
The black's the halal.
So black is emptiness, but yet there's color there.
That's right.
And there's space to see other colors.
Right. Okay. So now you're asking, where did you see before that the Malchut is Dala va'aniyah, empty and poor? Meaning, Malchut is Dala, Dal, empty, poor, Aniyah. Kav Yachol, I should say, the Tzimtzum is the Malchut of the Ein Sof. It's the spiritual keli that allows the finite beings to exist.
You said Malchut is the catcher of the Ein Sof?
I didn't say it's the Keter of the Ein Sof.
Say it again?
I said Malchut is the no. I said the Tzimtzum is the Malchut of the Ein Sof. The Tzimtzum is the Keter of the world of the Bria.
I like Tzimtzum as the Malchut of the Ein Sof because Malchut is the vessel and that's allowing you to perceive it.
Now, once you have that, now the next thing that has to happen has to be transmitted. That's called the world of the Bria. Okay? We good? Okay. Brit HaKeshet. So we see the Torah calls the rainbow a Brit. Brit HaKeshet. The Brit of the rainbow. Bi'er b'tomer Dvorah. Who wrote Tomer Dvorah? Who?
Wait.
Who wrote Tomer Dvorah?
Cordovero.
Correct. Rav Moshe Cordovero, the teacher of the Arizal. Parak Shmini, in the 8th parak. And what does Tomer Dvorah talk about, by the way?
Like ethics and
How does he form his book based on what?
like categories of behavior, or is that Derech Hashem?
He's a Kabbalist. Everything is going to be from the Sod. Ramchal used Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair's, right? He used Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, what he said, right? The 10 steps that lead to or Ruach HaKodesh, which brings the person to Tchiat HaMetim. That's the Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair's statement, and that's how he built the 10 Sharim, the 10 gates of Mesilat Yesharim. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero took the Yud Gimel Midot of Rachamim that are mentioned not in the Torah, but that are mentioned in the Tanakh, the ones that we do in Tashlich, Miel Kamocha, Nosei Avon V'Vera Pesha. And he showed, since one of the obligations we have to God is to what?
Emulate him.
Emulate him. Well, how do you do that? Well, you first have to learn the Midot of Hashem. And when you learn the Midot of Hashem, what are you doing? You are becoming Yodea Shem. Why? Because we have Shemot and we have Kinuyim. The Yud Gimel Midot, El Rachu, Mechanun Erech Hapa, Yimrav Chesed Ve'emet, those are called, not Shemot, those are called Kinuyim, nicknames. Miel Kamocha, Nosei Avon V'Avera Pesha. What's that called? Kinuyim. So Rabbi Moshe Cordovero took the Kinuyim that are the unlimited Rachamim of God, right? The Kinuyim that describe the unlimited mercy of Hashem, and he explained how as people we have to live up to emulating those midot. That's called Tomer Devorah.
Wow.
That's kind of what I said.
It's not what you said.
The one
If
that
it was
I
what you
heard.
said, if it was what you said, you would have said, first of all, if you would have read the book, you would have said what I just said. So you got to read the
I
book.
read
I have the book.
I didn't get it.
Have it. You have to read it. You have to learn it.
Have it as the first. It's on my shelf.
You want to learn it. It's
Take it off the shelf.
You have to take it off the shelf. It's on the shelf. What's on the shelf called? Vayisem ba'aron b'Mitzrayim. That's when the Torah is inside the Aron Kodesh, and Chas v'Shalom, we don't take it out. Okay. Tomer Dvorah Parak Shmini in the 8th parak. Me'od tzarich li zaher. A person should be very, very careful. She'ayesod hu ot brit hakeshet. It's so interesting that the gay movement picks the rainbow to be their symbol. Not good for them. Let's put it that way. The Yesod represents the ot brit keshet. The keshet ena derucha lemala ela shlishloach chitzim lemidat hamalchut shi matara lachetz. Wow. And what is the keshet? Why is it called the keshet, the rainbow?
Because when you
Bow. What's the bow?
You draw it and you pull it, you're getting potential energy.
What is the shape of a rainbow?
A crescent.
Well, it's like this.
A half moon.
It's not. It's a half moon. I saw a rainbow. I should have taken a picture. I was on a flight, and I saw a rainbow from 35,000 feet. It looks very different from 35,000 feet as it does from down. When you
Like a
see
straight line.
here, it's like you see it like this.
Yes, because the earth is like that.
But what you don't realize is the rainbow is like this.
I've seen it like that. If you can see it like that here, especially in Florida.
Okay,
Yeah,
but from
it'll go from
35,000
ground to
feet,
ground.
I was above
Right.
the rainbow. It was wild. I'm like, wow.
It's from end to end.
All right, so it's a bow, which means it's a semicircle. Okay, let's see what he says here. הקשת אינה דרוכה למעלה, אלא לשלוח חיצים למידת מלכות שהיא מטרה לחץ. The purpose of the keshet, of the bow, is to send arrows. This reminds me of the foolish Muslims that basically in there talks about that they send arrows to the jinn. This is probably where they heard that story from, but messed it up into a way that's ridiculous and stupid. Okay?
The jinn is their spirit. Jinn is spirit.
Jinn is the negative energy, right? So they're shooting arrows. They thought that that Allah shoots arrows at the jinn, and that was called lightning.
That's Cupid, Zeus. Where are they getting it from?
Whatever.
Okay.
The havdil. Shomeret hatipa. What is the terminology the Talmud uses when a man is having relations?
The angel brings the drop to the kiseh.
Yoreh
Oh, chetz.
kachetz. A man has to be able to shoot like an arrow.
Or also won't climb up the fallopian tubes.
I'm not going to say that. All I'm going to say
So that's what
is Yoreh kachetz. If he's not Yoreh kachetz, he's going to have trouble giving with fertility. And that's why when people have something called hypospadias, where the meatus is above, they need surgery because otherwise they pee in the wrong direction and their stuff goes in the wrong direction. That has to be fixed. That's when the hole of the penis is not where it's supposed to be. It's up or down or to the side.
tubes. Plumbing isn't working.
The plumbing is off.
You need to have
Okay? So it says anyone who is not Yoreh kachetz cannot give birth to children. So we see the concept that's in the Peshat, that's in the rabbinical literature
it's
of
somewhat right.
of the Brit Milah is Yoreh kachetz. Therefore, the Brit Milah itself is called keshet. What is the purpose of a keshet? It's to basically send the arrow from an analogy point of view. Okay? Shomeret hatipa hayoreh kachetz lasot anaf uleset peri. And the purpose of that is she guards the tipa, or he guards the tipa, and then when it shoots out, that allows there to be fruit. Keshem sheme'olam lo yidroch hakeshet ha'alyon ela lenochach hamatara nizkeret. Just like the keshet only goes according to the direction, according to its purpose. Kach adam lo yidroch hakeshet lo yikshe atzmo b'shum tzad. Therefore, if we're using this analogy, drawing the keshet, right, the potential energy that you're talking about, yes? How would we do that analogy regarding the Brit Milah?
Don't get yourself excited unless it's in the right time.
Excitement. When a person is mikashet atzmo, causes himself to have an erection, that's the equivalent of drawing back the bow. A person should only be having that type of a response when he's about to perform a purpose of relations.
In the proper time.
A person who does that not in the time of relations is mikashe atzmo ladat, not in the proper time. Well, then you have, first of all, you always have, except when you're sleeping. And even when you're sleeping, you have control during the day. The fact that what you think during the day comes out at night. But during the day, you have control, right? Because what happens? You see something you shouldn't look at. What's the next step? If you look away, then nothing happens. If you continue to stare at it and you allow your imagination to get the best of you, then that's called mikashe atzmo ladat. That's called drawing back the bow. Okay? The only way a person, when you draw the bow, you're going to shoot the arrow where it's supposed to go. So the only way a person should be drawing the bow, i.e. making himself kasher, is how? When he's about to release the arrow. If he's not going to release the arrow in the proper place, he should not be drawing back the bow. Makes sense? The proper is his wife when she is tahor, Torah. Shehu et hazivug. This is the time of the relations. This is the time of the connection. One second. And it does more than that. Yifgoma midah azot. He causes damage to the midah of the yesod. Because he's basically increasing the potential energy of the bow, but when the arrow is released, it's going to go in the wrong place at the wrong time. Chas v'shalom, God forbid, u'me'od me'od tzarich lizerut. The person has to be very, very cautious. The key factor is to protect oneself from imagination, thoughts, bad thoughts. And that's why, generally, the Torah, God does not punish for thought. If a person thinks to himself, I want to kill that person, but he doesn't kill him, is he punished for thinking about killing that person? No. If he acts on killing that person, then he's not just punished for the killing of the person, he's also punished for the thought. Okay? But there's two exceptions to that. Two exceptions are Avodah Zarah. Why? Because thinking about the Avodah Zarah is the Avodah Zarah. And the other one is Arayot.
What's the problem?
What's the problem with what?
I mean,
Thinking about Arayot.
with Arayot, what's the problem?
If you're thinking about the woman,
Yeah, but
a woman,
sometimes you don't cause it. It comes back to you.
once you recognize that you're getting yourself excited, you got to stop. That's the key. Okay? Not easy. It's the greatest challenge. I think one of the greatest challenges in our generation with all the exposure and all the things that see whether the person is driving or whether the person is working in South Florida,
In the summer.
whatever. It's just, eternal summer has downsides to it. And one of the eternal summer problems is everybody dresses naked all day long. Okay? But we see from here what? It's the hirhur, it's the thought processes, right? That's the problem. So once a person, and that's why it says a woman can be raped. A woman cannot rape a man. A man can be raped by another man, chas v'shalom, that's possible, because you don't have choice on the other end, right? But the way the Torah looks at it, a woman can't rape a man. Why not?
Because of the erection.
Because if he's not excited, there's no erection. If there's no erection, there's no relations. Which means, unless the bow is drawn, there's no arrow. And who controls whether the bow gets drawn or not?
The men.
That's exactly right. Okay. Brita Torah shehinik sheret. Next is Brita Torah. HaTorah mitgalet elenu b'shtei ofanim. The Torah is revealed to us in two different aspects. Torah shebichtav, Torah sheba'al peh. Written Torah and oral Torah. Torah shebichtav keneged midat hatiferet. The Torah shebichtav is vis-a-vis the midah of the tiferet. Shekolelet kol hasfirot. That concludes all of the sfirot of the ze'er anpin. Right? Kedita, like it's explained in Masechet Brachot, Daf Nun Het Amud Aleph, that Tiferet zo Matan Torah. The Tiferet is Matan Torah. The Ita beZohar, and explained in the Zohar, Chelek Gimel Tosafot Taf Reish Ayin Vav, Kabed et Avicha. Ze da Torah shebichtav. This is the written Torah. Vet Imecha da Torah shebe'al peh. Now we understand Shlomo HaMelech when he says, Shema b'ni musar avicha al titosh Torah imecha. What do you mean Torah of the mother? What are you talking about? Women don't have Talmud Torah. What is he talking about here? Now, when he wrote Mishle, you understand very, very well. Shema b'ni musar avicha. Listen, my son, the musar that is mentioned in the written Torah. Al titosh Torah timecha. Do not deviate from what the rabbis tell us in the written oral Torah about what it says in the written Torah. I mean, Torah imecha is Torah shebal peh.
And that's connected to Malchut.
That's connected. It's also connected to Binah, which
But
is
it's like
which,
practical stuff.
which
It's
is
like
which,
Tumat
which is
Torah.
which is which. You said we have Shechina Tata'a, Shechina Ila'a. Torah Shebal Peh, that's connected to Malchut. What's that called? Etz Hadat Tovara. What's that called? Isur v'heter, Kasher v'tarev, Tahor v'tamei.
Practicality, clear cut.
That's called Torah Shebnigle, the revealed Torah that is oral. But then there's the Sod. The Sod is not Malchut. The Sod is Binah. And that's why, according to the Zohar, the Etz HaChaim is the Sod. The oral law that is the Sod. That's called Etz Chaim Hila Mahazikim Ba. Those who just spend their time on the Nigle only are eating from the Etz Hadat Tovara. The computer's running out of juice over here.
And you do both are eating that and it's clean.
Sorry?
Eating from both trees.
You're eating from both trees.
If you're doing Nigla and Nistar.
Right, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, in this world, you have to eat from the Etz Hadat Tovara so you can know what's allowed and what's not allowed. Okay? Otherwise, how do you live as a Jew? How do you serve God?
How can you tell the difference?
But you have to also learn the Nistar because you need to understand what's behind. When we're studying the Nigla, we understand there's the Nistar, which is hidden, which is behind.
That is the cause.
Correct. All right, continuing.
You're going to go all the way to 12.
Okay, so if you have to leave, I have a card today, so you can, if you have these stick, if you can bow out, you want to, that's fine. I'm gonna try to stick as long as my computer's got 23% juice, so I guess I'm gonna run out soon. But I'm gonna try to stay to mincha if I can. Okay, so again, it's no pressure, and you can listen on the YouTube afterwards. All right, class is Thursday, by the way, at 7 o'clock at Bet Midrash Sfaradi if you want to join.
Where?
Bet Midrash Sfaradi. The address is in the chat.
You're talking about
Sweet
the
800
power
power.
Power line, correct. Okay. The kamad Abba yehiv shefa la'ima. And how much does Abba give shefa to Ima? Abba gives abundance to Ima. Hachinami Torah shebichtav yehiv shefa la Torah shebal peh. Therefore, Torah shebal peh is receiving shefa from Torah shebichtav. Okay, so the Tiferet gives shefa to the Malchut. That's the concept of the Torah shebichtav giving shefa to the Torah shebe'al peh. And where does the shefa come from for the binah?
It comes from the Binah.
The binah is the distributor, but the binah is receiving it from where? The chokhmah. And the chokhmah is me'ayin timatzeh. What is me'ayin? When you see ayin, what is, not with the ayin, with the aleph, ayin, nothingness. Chokhmah me'ayin. What is me'ayin? The keter. The keter is called me'ayin. Ayin. Ayin is the keter with the aleph. Why is the keter ayin?
Because it can be there or not there and change it down.
No. Why is the keter ayin? Because the keter is directly connected to the
Malchut of the next world?
Ein Sof. Ein Sof is ayin. What does it mean ayin? Nothing. No, Ein Sof is everything. Nothing created. The keter is connected to the Ein Sof directly. There's no interruption. Therefore, what? It's called ayin. Just like the Ein Sof is called ayin, so the keter is called ayin. And the chokhmah is basically the manifestation of the keter into the world, into the created world, shall we say, even into the spiritual world from the chokhmah. If you talk about chokhmah ila'ah, that's a chokhmah of the atzilut. Okay, let's continue. והכוונה, כמו שהאישה מגלה את כוחותיה של בעלה על ידי יסוד, how does the woman manifest the power of the man? Through children.
Taking something and making it better.
Very good. כך התורה שבכתב מתגלה על ידי התורה שבעל פה. Similarly, the written Torah is revealed by the oral Torah. המפרשת ומגלה, מפרשת ומגלה, and reveals את הגנוז בתורה שבכתב, what is hidden in the Torah שבכתב, which means within the Torah שבכתב, there are things that are hidden that are there to be revealed, like ayin tachat ayin. The Torah says an eye for an eye. The Torah Shebaal Peh comes along and says, no, it's not talking about an eye for an eye, it's talking about payment. That's revealing something that is hidden in the written Torah, revealing it in the revealed Torah. But there are examples of things that are in the written Torah that are all sod. No, what we're talking about here, all the sod of the Torah, the sodot, what these things mean. Why is yad tachat yad? Why does it say yad tachat yad in the Torah? Why doesn't it just say kesef yad tachat yad? Wouldn't that be life a lot easier if that was the case? Kesef regel tachat regel. What's the sod? What is the sod of yad tachat yad?
That there is a yad in the physical world and a yad in the spiritual world.
Yes. And the yad in the physical world is tachat, the yad in the spiritual world, which means first comes the yad in the spiritual world, which is the spiritual concept of yad. And then there's a physical manifestation of that spiritual quality in the physical world. So that we can look at the physical quality of yad and then understand the spiritual quality of yad. Yad tachat yad. That's why I use the lashon tachat, underneath. One is higher, one is lower. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. What's created first? The shamayim is created first, and then is the aretz. Why is it that way? The purpose of the aretz, the reason why we're in the aretz, is so we can learn about the shamayim. And how do we learn about the shamayim? Through studying the aretz. Good. That's yad tachat yad. כך התורה שבכתב מתגלה על ידי התורה שבעל פה, המפרשת ומגלה את הגנוז בתורה שבכתב. ושם במקום הגלוי נכרת ברית התורה. And in the revealed places when the Torah is established, okay? Which means only through the Torah שבעל פה do we understand the Torah שבכתב. כמו שכתב בתורה דברה פרק זין, like it's written in the Torah דברה פרק זין, עוד יהיה רגיל בהיותו נושא ונותן בדברי תורה, it will עוד יהיה רגיל, it will be רגיל, regular, בהיותו נושא ונותן בדברי תורה, לכון את תיקוני השכינה לתקנה ולקשתה אל התפארת, דהיינו הלכה. Oh boy. Wow. It should be regular for him that when he gives and takes in the Torah, which means when he's studying the Nigle, when he's studying the Torah Shebaal Peh that is revealed, Isur v'Heter, he should also be thinking to himself about Tikunei HaShekhinah, which means the spiritual aspect of the halacha, to correct it, ul kashta, and to adorn it to the tiferet, hainu halacha. I have to see what that means on the inside. It's probably a lot deeper than I'm saying. Okay. We have time for one more. Let's see how we got over here. My juice over here. I don't think I brought my extra battery either. Okay. Let's go one more, and then we'll finish up. It'll be time for mincha, okay? Brit halashon and brit ma'or. the brit of the lashon and the brit of the ma'or, which is the bottom part. Hitba'er shebechol makom shel gilui mimenu yitbarach nichrat brit. Every place there is a revealing from Hashem, there's a brit. The chol gilui shel or chadash naaseh mizivug, and every revelation of or chadash, new or, is based on zivug, when there's a connection between masculine and feminine. Hagilui shalapeh, the revelation of what comes out of the mouth. Kol inyanei haruchanut, all of the ideas in the spirituality. Naaseh mizivug chokhmah binah, comes from the connection between chokhmah and binah. When chokhmah and binah together, that's what comes out by the person's mouth. The hagilui hagashmi shel haneshamot naaseh mizivug zun, and the revelation of the souls, the physical people, children born, comes from the connection of Zeranpin Venukva. Like that Gaon Vilna explained in Sefer Yetzirah, Milat halashon u'milat ha'ma'or, the milah of the tongue and the milah of the down below. Halashon u'brita Torah shenikra brit. The lashon is called brita Torah. The ma'or who brit milah, and the ma'or is brit milah. The yidei elu habet britot, through these two brit, hem kiyum kol ha'olam, the entire world exists because of the brit milah. And how do the rabbis say this? Im lo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. The Gemara asks the question, what's an example of a brit that is yomam v'layla, that is night and day? Answer, Brit Milah and Torah.
Why is one night, one day?
No, night and day. Tefillin is an ot, yes?
Yeah.
But it's only during the day.
You're saying Shabbat night and Brit Milah is during the day.
I didn't say Shabbat.
You said-
Brit Milah and Torah.
Sorry.
Those are Brit that are night and day. The Brit Milah
Day.
man has at night and in the day. And Torah, a person is required to learn Torah night and day. The Agita bo yamam v'layla.
And that's
Therefore,
what he's saying. Okay, like a continuous Brit.
and so im lo briti yomam v'layla. If it wasn't for my covenant day or night, chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti, which means as long as you see sunset and sunrise every single day, you know that the Jewish people are doing the Brit Milah, and the Jewish people are doing studying Torah. Who made that mistake? Who made the mistake in saying the Jewish people are not keeping the Brit Milah?
Bilam?
No,
Come on.
nope, nope. Eliyahu Navi. God said, "Oh yeah." Guess
Oh,
what?
You're gonna win.
First of all, the Shamayim and Aretz, Ha'azino Shamayim v'Adabera, Tishma Eretz Repi. You see the Shamayim and Aretz still there. The world still exists. That means the Jewish people keeping the Torah. Some Jews, not all, are keeping the Torah and keeping Brit Milah. And what you're going to do, Eliyahu Navi, for all of history from now on, is you have to show up in every single Brit because you're going to see how you were wrong.
He gets a comfy chair now.
What's that? He does, but at the end of the day, he's still got to go to every Brit. He's stuck in this world a lot. Okay. So these two Brit are the existence of the world. The kiyum of the world is through the Brit Milah and the Brit of the Torah. Shirdarshu, our rabbis explained al Brita Torah of al Brita Milah. That's what the rabbis explained, the Brit that's discussed in this pasuk. The Yesod hu zivug, and the Yesod is the concept of zivug. The zivug above the ima al yedei alashon nikra neshikin. And the Brit of Chokhmah and Binah is through the Lashon. And in Kabbalistic language, that's called Neshikin. Yishakeni Meneshikot Pihu. Continue. Shehu zivug shel briat hamalachim shehem ruchaniim. That is the zivug of the malach of the shel briat hamalachim shehem ruchaniim. Lefi shehazivug hu ruchani, because that's a spiritual zivug, and that what gives birth to physical beings like malachim and like neshamot. The zivug zon zer nukva hu ayidei yesod is through the yesod. So the lashon is the keli that causes there to be the zivug between Chokhmah and Binah to the next, right? It reveals what's on the outside. That's the Brit. And then the Ma'or is the Brit. The revelation of the Brit is the Ma'or that's between the Yesod and the Malchut. The Yesod is Gufani, Shu Zivuk Shal Neshamot Bnei Adam Shu Gufani. I'm sorry. The Yesod is the Nesham is from the Bnei Adam. That means the Malachim are higher. That's interesting, based on what we just read here. So the Malachim are basically from the Chokhmah and the Binah, and the people, Neshamot of people, is from the Yesod. We have to think about that. And through a person having physical relations with a female in the right time, in the right place, with the right woman, that causes there to be born Adam, another world, another person. Torah kol hevel naaseh malach ki yadua. And through the Torah, what happens? Everything that is hevel, which is what? Nothingness, becomes malach. V'chen amru, I'm not sure what he means by that. V'chen amru al kol dibur v'dibur she'yatza mipei HaKadosh Baruch Hu nivra mimena malach. That's why it says that every dibur that comes from Hashem, from that comes malach. The elu shtei britot mishnehem nolad adam arel. And from these two brit, a person, a man is born arel. What is arel? With a orlah. Ad shemalotam, until they are circumcised. K'mo shekatuv yimol besar orlato. You have to remove the basar, the flesh of the orlah. The etzel lashon ne'emar. What do we see by lashon from last week's parasha? The anochi aral sefatayim. Arel. Arel sfatayim. So we see the concept of aral is for the brit and for the lashon. Manochi aral sfatayim. All right, we'll have to look it up. Okay. K'mo shekatav b'tikunei Zohar chadash, like it's written in Tikunei Zohar chadash. Kivad peh be'oraita de be'al peh. What is kivad peh? In Torah shebe'al peh. Ukvad lashon oraita shebichtav. So when Moshe Rabbeinu says he's kvad peh the kvad lashon, what does that mean? Kvad, tough in speech with Torah shebe'al peh and Torah shebichtav. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying.
So it means he knows that he's kaved like Avraham is kaved?
Okay, Avraham is kaved b'mikneh b'kesev hazahav.
Which means he's got it. It's loaded.
Okay, but here it means kaved, which means he has trouble speaking. Moshe Rabbeinu had difficulty with speech. A teacher that has difficulty speaking, it's hard to convey information to people because they're paying attention more to how he's speaking rather than the words he's speaking.
So that's why Arel Saftam, because he has this sort of blockage.
Whoa. So he starts out with kvad peh, the kvad lashon, right? Umilat halashon, and the circumcision of the tongue. Shemit yagea batorah. What happens? The person is toiling in the Torah. Ad shemit gadel bishnehem shadam pera yulad. A person is born an animal, wild. When a person continues to study and learn, what happens? He becomes refined. That's why it's called shigura befiv. When a person has difficulty reading, how do you fix that? You keep reading over and over again until you get familiar with the words.
Shigra. Okay.
Exactly. And because the brit of the lashon is spiritual, because speech is not ma'aseh, speech is spiritual. Therefore, the brit is a spiritual brit. How? By over and over saying it over and over again. That's how a person accustoms his mouth and his tongue to speaking, whether giving Dvar Torah or being chazan. Same idea. Habrit ha'ma'or begashmi milato, but the brit ha'ma'or is physical. Gam ken gashmi v'tachaticha. Therefore, the way we do circumcision of the orlah of the brit ha'ma'or is you have to do something physical, which is you cut off the orlah. Ayem bi'urei gra b'safar that's niuta. Look at the bi'urei of the gra, the safar that's niuta. Daf aleph bet v'zel lashon v'da'atu halashon. Da'at is the lashon because da'at is the connection between chokhmah and binah. That's the da'at. That's the lashon. Therefore, the essential relation between the chokhmah and the binah is through the tongue. That dibur nikra niv sfatayim. Dibur is called niv sfatayim. Milashon peri, from the lashon of fruit. The fruit of chokhmah and binah is speech. If a person is wise and a person has understanding,
It doesn't say anything.
doesn't say anything, nobody knows. It's not revealed. The way it's revealed is through the speech. The Gama Torah mitzvot nikraim pri, and we also see the Torah and the mitzvot are called pri dichtiv, as is written. Imru tzadik kitov ki pri malalehem yochelu. So we see Yeshaya compares the performance of the mitzvot to perot, fruits. What do we say in the beginning of the morning? Elu.
How do you change them shiur?
Yes. What's the language that you use? Elu dvarim she'en lahem shiur, right? Then it gives the right. Hapeh v'kum ve'elu dvarim she'adam oseh otam ochel mi perotehem. So you see the mitzvot are called perot. But all the mitzvot are perot. But these are the ones that a person eats from the perot in this world. That keren kayemet lo l'olam haba. Means the ultimate reward is in the olam haba. But you get the perot, you get the fruits in this world. V'chen haperot shel hayesod hem habanim hagashmim shel adam. And therefore the perot, the fruits of the yesod, are the children of the person. Okay, we will stop here. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.